It was 2 a.m. when Marcus dropped a bombshell on our family group chat. Emergency meeting. Grandma wants everyone tomorrow. No excuses. My heart sank. Marcus never called family meetings unless money was involved. And judging by the calm, flood of quick-on-my-way replies, I wasn't the only one sensing trouble. The tone was urgent, like a storm was about to hit, and it wasn't just the usual family drama. I lay awake, wondering what kind of announcement would shake our family to its core. Grandma Rose wasn't just wealthy, she was a powerhouse. $47 million in assets spread across real estate in 3 states, a stock portfolio that made brokers jealous, a jewelry vault that needed special insurance, and businesses that generated steady passive income like clockwork. She built it all from scratch. Grandma was the kind of woman who survived the Great Depression with nothing but grit and determination, who outlived our parents, who all died too young in tragic accidents. That left the 6 of us grandchildren as the last living link to her fortune and legacy, the final generation standing at the crossroads of her empire. There was Marcus, the Harvard grad who wore his intelligence like armor, always calm, calculated, and a little smug, convinced he was the rightful heir. Sarah, our family's ruthless lawyer, who saw every interaction as a legal battle and never missed an opportunity to assert dominance. Then there were the twins, Jake and Luke, party boys who blew through trust funds faster than anyone could keep track, their Instagram feeds full of reckless nights and wild living. Emma, my sister, was different. She actually called Grandma, checked in on her, showed real care when most of us were only interested in the inheritance. And me? I was the black sheep, the one who had moved in after Grandma's stroke to take care of her. The outsider who barely fit in with the rest, seen as inconvenient at best. The next day, we gathered in Grandma's Victorian parlor, the heavy, drapes drawn, sunlight filtering softly through the stained glass. The air felt thick with tension, like we were suspects in a crime thriller, rather than a family reunion. Grandma Rose walked in, cane in hand, her face drawn, but her eyes sharp as ever. I'm dying, she said flatly. 6 months, tops. I'm leaving everything to whoever loves me most. There were no lawyers, no wills, just that chilling statement hanging in the air. It was a twisted contest. And suddenly, $47 million was up for grabs based on something as intangible and subjective as love. The room went silent, everyone trying to hide their emotions, but I could feel the gears turning in their minds. After Grandma's announcement, the atmosphere shifted overnight. It was like watching a slow-motion game of chess. Everyone plotting, their next move, trying to outplay each other in this bizarre contest of love. But beneath the smiles and fake pleasantries, things started to get ugly. Sarah was the first to change tactics. She began showing up every day with flowers and croissants, though Grandma was allergic to croissants, which was the first red flag. I caught Grandma sneezing more than usual, but Sarah just smiled and insisted it was all about winning Grandma's favor. The twins, who had never been the church type, suddenly started attending services regularly, posting photos on Instagram to prove their spiritual awakening. Marcus, of course, offered to manage Grandma's stock portfolio pro bono, but I knew it was a way to keep her isolated and control her decisions. Meanwhile, I stayed close to Grandma, making sure she was safe and comfortable. But things started to feel off. Emma's car brakes suddenly failed. The mechanic's words were chilling. Sabotage. Grandma's heart medication vanished from her bedside table, replaced with empty bottles. One night, I woke up to the smell of smoke and found the garbage bins under my window set on fire. It was no accident. Someone was trying to eliminate the competition, and the competition was me. I didn't panic. Instead, I got strategic. I installed a nanny cam in Grandma's room, started saving suspicious texts and calls, and even traced a strange Bitcoin payment Marcus made to some shady consultant. Every piece of evidence was another brick in the wall I was building against the family's dark side. The days that followed felt like walking through a minefield. Everyone's smiles grew colder, their eyes sharper, like they were hiding knives behind those polite faces. At family dinners, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. We all sat like performers on a stage, pretending nothing was wrong while waiting for the next bomb to drop. Sarah would toss compliments my way that felt less like kindness and more like veiled threats, her eyes always calculating. Marcus worked hard to cozy up to Grandma's caregivers, whispering behind closed doors, no doubt trying to manipulate their loyalty. The twins kept their distance, but flooded Instagram with holy moments, church selfies and captions about finding faith, as if proving their innocence was as simple as a post. But I wasn't fooled. While they performed their little acts, I was quietly gathering proof. The nanny cam I'd installed in Grandma's room caught Sarah slipping something into Grandma's tea, tiny pills that didn't belong there. It was subtle, but dangerous. My phone was flooded with suspicious texts. Marcus bribing a caregiver to accuse me of neglect, trying to poison Grandma's mind against me. The mechanic's photos of Emma's damaged brakes perfectly matched the day her car nearly crashed. Sabotage, plain and simple. Piece by piece, I built my case. Screenshots, videos, receipts. Every bit a brick in the wall I was erecting around their deceit. It wasn't just a family feud anymore. It was a battle for survival. When the day of the final vote arrived, the air was suffocating. Grandma insisted on no lawyers, no advisors, just us six, sitting in the same Victorian parlor where she'd dropped the bombshell. We tried to hide our nerves, but the weight of what was at stake pressed down on us all. Before dessert, I stood up, heart pounding, hands trembling but voice steady. I pressed play on a hidden projector. The room went dark, and the screen came alive with undeniable proof. Sarah slipping pills into Grandma's tea, Marcus's bribery calls, and a chilling photo of Jake cutting Emma's brake line. The room erupted in gasps, accusations, and stunned silence. Grandma said nothing. She looked at each of us with tired, sad eyes, then quietly stood and walked out, leaving us to face the chaos we'd created. The next morning, the house felt like a ghost town. The usual sounds of clinking coffee cups, quiet conversations, and distant laughter were gone. Instead, a heavy silence hung in the air, thick, uncomfortable, and suffocating. It was as if the walls themselves were holding their breath after the storm that had swept through the family the night before. No one knew what to say or how to act around each other. The tension was so palpable, you could almost taste it. By noon, whispers started spreading like wildfire. The new will had been signed overnight, and there was only one name on it: mine. The news landed like a bombshell. Marcus's usual smug, confidence crumbled, replaced by a bitter mixture of disbelief and rage. I saw the fire in his eyes dull, replaced by a cold, calculating fury. Sarah, sharp-tongued and merciless as ever, was uncharacteristically silent, her lips pressed into a tight line, unable to muster her usual cutting remarks. The twins, Jake and Luke, who had always acted like nothing could touch them, looked small and defeated, their bravado shattered like glass. Emma, my sister, looked at me with a mixture of surprise and cautious hope, as if she was still processing what had happened. I never imagined winning this twisted contest would be easy. The family had thrown everything at me: manipulation, lies, even sabotage, to try to cut me out of Grandma's life and fortune. But they underestimated one thing: my bond with Grandma Rose. I wasn't just the grandchild who showed up after the stroke. I was the one who stayed, day after day, through pain, frustration, and fear. I was the one who loved her when it mattered most. The family, once bound by blood but torn apart by greed, was now irreparably fractured. Some stopped speaking entirely, avoiding each other like strangers at family events. Others tried to make amends, sending desperate messages, begging for a second chance. But Grandma's decision was final. Her trust was not something she gave lightly, and she had placed it firmly in my hands. As I stood there, holding the weight of her fortune, I realized this inheritance wasn't just money. It was a legacy, a testament to resilience, love, and truth. It was proof that no amount of wealth could replace genuine care and loyalty, and despite everything, I was ready to honor that. After Grandma's decision became public, everything shifted. The family dynamic, our relationships, even the way I saw myself. Some relatives vanished from the picture entirely, retreating into silence or anger, unwilling or unable to face the consequences of their actions. They avoided family gatherings, stopped answering calls, and in some cases, even deleted me from their lives, as if I was the villain who had stolen their inheritance. Others, however, showed up at Grandma's house with tentative smiles and hollow apologies. They wanted to patch things up, hoping to mend broken bridges and find a way back into the family's good graces. But their apologies felt thin, rehearsed, and insincere. A desperate attempt to rewrite the past rather than truly own it. I could see through the facades, and deep down, I knew Grandma could too. I threw myself into managing Grandma's estate with the same fierce dedication I'd shown while caring for her. The properties needed constant upkeep. Old Victorian houses don't maintain themselves. The businesses required daily oversight to keep the passive income flowing, and the stock portfolio demanded attention and careful decisions to protect her wealth. It was overwhelming at times, like trying to juggle a dozen fragile glass balls. But I was determined not to let Grandma's legacy fall apart or become a casualty of family greed. Despite the chaos, there were quiet moments that reminded me why I fought so hard. Even as her health declined, Grandma's eyes would light up when I read to her from her favorite books or played the classical music she loved. Those moments felt like small victories, proof that love and loyalty were stronger than money or betrayal. She trusted me, and that trust became the foundation I leaned on. Meanwhile, the other grandchildren tried everything. Legal challenges that dragged on for months, emotional appeals filled with tears and promises, even public attempts to sway opinion in their favor. But nothing worked. Grandma's will was ironclad, her wishes clear. No court or courtroom drama could undo what she had decided. Through it all, I learned something profound. Love isn't just a feeling or a word. It's an action, a commitment, a daily choice, to stand by someone when it counts most. It's about being there in the quiet, unseen moments, not just when the cameras are on. And in the end, that's what mattered most to Grandma Rose. As weeks turned into months, managing Grandma's estate became more than just a responsibility. It became my mission, my way of honoring everything she had fought for and built from the ground up. Every morning, I woke with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that the decisions I made would shape not only the future of her fortune, but also preserve her legacy for generations to come. The old Victorian houses scattered across 3 states required constant attention. Peeling paint, creaking floors, and fragile window panes demanded careful restoration. I worked closely with contractors and preservation experts, making sure each property kept its original charm and historical significance intact. It wasn't just about the buildings. It was about protecting memories, family history, and the spirit of a woman who had fought hard to create something lasting. The businesses Grandma started were varied. Some were thriving, generating steady, passive income, while others needed serious restructuring to stay afloat. I plunged into the world of entrepreneurship, hiring trustworthy managers, scrutinizing financial reports, and learning about markets and investments. The learning curve was steep and exhausting, but I was determined. I refused to let Grandma's hard work crumble under the weight of greed and neglect. Each small victory in the boardroom or at a property site felt like a tribute to her resilience. But the family drama didn't just fade away. Marcus, Sarah, and the twins kept trying to undermine me at every turn. Marcus made another desperate attempt to wrest control of the investment portfolio, digging for legal loopholes to exploit. Sarah whispered poisonous rumors, trying to damage my reputation within our social circles. and even among extended family friends. The twins retreated from public view, their wild partying replaced by silence. But every now and then, I'd receive veiled threats or passive-aggressive messages, reminding me that they hadn't given up. Despite it all, I stood firm. Emma was my anchor throughout this turbulent time. More than a sister, she became my closest ally and confidant. Together, we navigated the stormy waters of family betrayal, reminding each other why we fought, not for money or revenge, but for Grandma, for the love and loyalty she had shown us all our lives. Every visit to her bedside, every quiet moment shared, reinforced the truth that mattered most. One quiet afternoon, while sorting through old photo albums and dusty letters in Grandma's study, I stumbled upon something unexpected. A letter addressed to me, written but never sent. In her delicate handwriting, Grandma poured out words of encouragement, wisdom, and unconditional love. She spoke about the strength to stand alone when necessary, the importance of family beyond bloodlines, and the courage to follow your heart, even when the path ahead is dark and uncertain. That letter became my guiding light during the darkest days, a beacon reminding me that I was exactly where I was meant to be, not just as the heiress to her fortune, but as the bearer of her spirit, resilience, and unwavering love. Grandma passed away quietly a few weeks later, in the gentle glow of a late afternoon sun filtering through the lace curtains of her bedroom. It was peaceful, almost serene, a stark contrast to the turmoil and family battles that had consumed us all for months. Emma and I sat by her side, holding her frail hands, softly playing the classical music she had loved for decades, and whispering stories of better days and shared memories. Even as the tears fell, there was a profound sense of closure within me. I had kept my promise, to be there for her, to care for her through her final days, to love her without hesitation or condition. The reading of the will, held only days, after her passing, brought the fractured family together one last time. Though the air was thick with tension, bitterness, and unspoken accusations, the courtroom was packed, every relative present, their faces a mixture of disbelief, anger, forced civility, and jealousy. The judge read Grandma's final wishes aloud, clearly and without pause. The entirety of her $47 million empire was entrusted solely to me. No trusts, no shared inheritance, no second chances. The decision was final, indisputable, and unchangeable. Despite the undeniable victory, I did not feel the triumph I had imagined for so long. Instead, a bittersweet ache settled deep in my chest. I had lost the family I thought I knew. The cousins I once laughed with and grew up alongside were now strangers consumed by greed and bitterness. But in losing them, I found something far more valuable: the freedom and responsibility to carry forward Grandma's legacy on my own terms, without compromise, deception, or betrayal. I made a silent vow that day to honor her memory with everything I had, managing the estate with meticulous care, preserving each property as though it were a living testament to her life's work, supporting the communities she had touched, and living my life with the integrity, resilience, and courage she had instilled in me from childhood. I came to understand that this fortune was never simply about money. It was a measure of love, loyalty, and the strength to stand firm, even when standing alone. In the months that followed, I began to rebuild my life around the values Grandma had taught me. I repaired and nurtured the relationships that mattered. With Emma, close friends, and the few family members who showed genuine care. At the same time, I let go of those who were blinded by greed, who could not accept the truth, or who had turned their backs on the woman who raised us. I found solace and strength in quiet moments, tending to Grandma's garden, the way she had always loved, sharing laughter and stories with Emma, and cherishing memories that no fortune could ever replace. Looking back, I realize now that Grandma's fortune was not just a gift of money, but a test, harsh, painful, and unforgiving, but a test nonetheless. It revealed who truly loved her, who valued family beyond wealth, and who was willing to stand by her side when it mattered most. And in that test, I found something even more precious than money: the truth about myself, my resilience, and the unbreakable bond I shared with the woman who raised me, shaping me into who I am today.